Hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday. Happy Faith, Purpose, Profit Monday, where I'm live every Monday at 7 p.m. EST. And I'm connecting all things with faith and purpose and profit so that we can get you clear and aligned to the assignment God has put on your life. And whether you know it or not, yes, you are assigned. You don't have to be in the pulpit to be assigned. You are called and assigned. And it's my assignment to get you in alignment with yours. I'm always excited to be here with you week after week to pour in strategy, not just to live out your purpose, to understand how it's meant to profit the world. Profit, again, means gain, y'all. So come on in, say hello, say where you're from. Hey, Renata in Brooklyn, and hey, Yolanda in Ohio in the house. Always excited to see y'all here. So come on in, keep making comments. I will come back at the end of the episode and read your comments. So a couple of things as you're coming in. And by the way, I do read every single comment. I just get easily distracted, so I try to stay on point. Hey, in Atlanta. And guess what? If you're in my Facebook group, come on over to my Facebook page so I can see who you are. So how you do that is come over to fpplive.live if you're here with me live, so I can see who you are as you comment. Because if you're in my Facebook group, I can't see your name. It just says Facebook user. All right, so let's get started in our conversation for today. We're continuing in a series this is part 3 in that series. The series is called More Money, More Purpose. And again, money is a conduit for you to do the thing that God has called you to do. And I need you to get clear on that. And that is why I believe God dropped all this content in my spirit, but why I'm excited about everything I'm teaching you. So let me do a little review before I tell you our topic for this part 3 of the series. So part 1, I broke down what I mean by more money, more purpose, and I gave you our foundational Bible verse, which is 2 Corinthians 9:10. This is the foundational Bible verse for the entire series. And that Bible verse says, "Now may he who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food supply and multiply the seed you have sown and increase the fruits of your righteousness." Now understand that God is your supplier. Now, supplier means a person or organization that provides something needed, such as a product or a service. And so I need you to get that God is your supplier. What he supplied in you, imparted in you, and invested in you is that DNA, that distinct natural ability that he gave you at birth. And in addition to giving you that, he also supplied you with a way to serve people that need you. And the supply that comes back to you is money, because we need money to live. So again, if supplier means a person or organization that provides something needed, then money is also needed for us to live. So that's part of that supply chain, dare I say. So I dug into that deep in part 1 and understanding how God is our supplier and how he gives us seed. He expects us to sow, but he keeps giving you seed so you can continue to sow. That seed is money. The more money you make, the more meaning you can create in this world. Part 2, which was last week's conversation, is your own living trust. Your own living trust. Now, the definition of a living trust is the assets, or the purpose of a living trust, I should say, is a transfer of assets. Usually it's at death. But sometimes there could be other stipulations. I use Bridgerton for an example. I'm not going to go into that. But I want you to understand the assets that God imparted to you are your gifts and talents. Your DNA, your purpose, the way he wired you. And so this perfectly moves into our conversation for part 3. By the way, if you've missed any of our conversations, I want to encourage you to go back and listen to them. Part 1 and part 2, or the 2 obviously before this episode. Go to fpppodcast.com. Again, fpppodcast.com is where you go and catch up on the episodes you've missed. And the reason I say this is because the way I teach builds one on the next. And so you need the previous 2 to get what I'm getting ready to pour into you in this conversation. So our conversation for this part 3 is called Giving God a Great ROI, a great return on his investment in you. The thing I think so many of us forget is that God gave to us first. Oh, God was the first giver. So he's not asking you to do something he hasn't done. John 3:16 says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life." Now, that was one of the first Bible verses I learned when I was back in elementary school. For God so loved the world. So God loved the world so much that he gave his son to us. So I wonder if you really have thought about that. Do you love anything enough to give your children to it, to give your child to it, to sacrifice your child for it so that it can redeem all of us? Have you really thought about that? I don't know if I would be generous enough to give my first child, even though I don't have any children of my own, but that's a huge, huge gift. And all God asks us to be is good stewards of all he's given to us. That's how we give God a great return on his investment. So again, God invests DNA in all of us when we're born. DNA is distinct natural ability. That's what I call it. And he's really careful and specific with how he gifted you. And because he gifted you so well, there's something you are phenomenal at. And all he asks you to do is give that back to him as a steward. Now listen, I looked up stewardship because, if you like me, I've been going to church since I was little. So anytime I hear stewardship, I think of tithing. And I am talking about tithing as well, because, and I broke this down last episode, giving that first fruit. Again, God gave us his first fruit. So if you missed that, go back and watch that episode. I'm not going to go through that again, but what I do want you to get is stewardship. So stewardship means, and I'm getting ready to read stewardship, the definition according to Webster, means the conducting, supervising, or managing of something, especially the careful and responsible management of something entrusted to one's care. So God entrusted 3 things to our care. 3 things. Now I've been talking about money. You guys know that. That's treasure. God has entrusted money to us, and I really believe God is testing us when he gives us money to see if we're going to use it for the right reasons. I talked to you about the Bible verse that talks about money's the root of the love of money is the root of all evil. Are you going to use it to grow the kingdom or to grow your own wealth? So God is really testing us, I believe, when he gives us more profit. Will we do more and be more and grow for the kingdom? Or are we going to use it for selfish reasons? Now, I'm not saying you can't take a vacation. I'm not saying you can't gift yourself something every now and then. I'm not saying that. But when that's your only focus, and when you have greed as your focus, and you're not focused on how you can move someone's life or business or career or family or whatever it is your purpose to do, how you can bless more people, then you're not being a good steward over your money and how you use it to do more or be more. The second area, the third we talk about all the time, but the second area is the area I think so many of us overlook. It's time. We have 24 hours in a day. All of us have the same amount of time in a day. Why do you think some people get more things done in a day than others? Well, they're being a good steward of their time. Have you really realized that every single minute of a day is either a minute that you spend doing something great or you're wasting it? You're either building or you're wasting. There's a Bible verse, Psalms 90:12, and there's 2 here that I couldn't figure out which one was a better one, so I'm going to read both. That says, so teach us to number our Okay, my Wi-Fi is acting extra, but I'm going to stay and roll with it. So I want you to really, really look at your time and how you're being the steward of your time and how you're wasting your time. I know for me, I've had to really, really look at, listen, God called me into my purpose when I had 2 jobs. I had 2 jobs, and then I had 3 jobs. I used to say I had 2 daytime jobs to pay for my nighttime calling. Can I tell you that I'm busier now than I was then? So an excuse that I could make about why I didn't have time, how dare I tell God why I can't do something? It's up to me to make my time matter. Now, can I also tell you there's no such thing as work-life balance? You can't perfectly balance out your work and your life. That's just not real. But what you can do is get clear and uncompromising with how you're using your time. Next Bible verse is Ephesians 5:16 that says, making the best use of the time because the days are evil. Now, there are so many things that can come and stop you from doing the thing that you are purposed to do. Listen, I could talk about my days as a CEO. Then when I have my email open and I'm trying to write, maybe I'm writing a blog, maybe I'm writing a chapter in my next book, and it could be both. Maybe I'm writing an article. If my email is open and it pops up, it distracts me, which means I'm wasting my time because then I go over and start answering my email. Stop! How many of you guys spend hour upon hour upon hour in social media? Yeah, not a good use of your time. You've got to be a good steward of your time and be mindful of time wasters and time blockers. There are times that one of your girlfriends might call you in the middle of working on something. You got to be a good steward of your time and realize, is it a good time to talk to her right now or him right now? I remember when I first started working from home, my husband used to call me all the time and I didn't answer the phone when he would call me. I would text him and say, what's up? So I had to train him how to be a good steward of my time. I had to show him that I'm just not sitting here waiting to go pick up your dry cleaning. See, it's nobody else's business about your timing but you. When you die and go meet God, you can't give God every excuse of why you didn't have time or why it wasn't the right time. Listen, there will never be a right time. God only calls you when you're busy. Don't believe me? Look at the disciples. Look at each of the disciples that Jesus called. All of them already had jobs already. They were already busy. So that means when God is calling you to do more, he's asking you to figure it out. You got 24 hours in a day. You got to sleep 8. Okay, so now that leaves, 16 hours left? How are you using those 16 hours? Now, some of those you need to rest. Now, I'll be honest with you. I get up about 5. I usually have about an hour of Jesus time in the morning. An hour of listening to and pouring into myself with a sermon, about an hour. Then I get up, I work out. I then have 30 more minutes of Jesus journaling and sometimes reading my devotional, depending on how I'm feeling in my spirit time. And then I work until 3 p.m. Now, here's how I steward my time. From 3 to 5, I take a break. Why? Because I'm in here till 9 p.m. And I've learned that I need to take a nap. So sometimes I lay on my bed and I don't nap. I might read something, I might watch something on TV, but I'm letting my mind rest for 30 minutes and giving my mind rest. 5 o'clock, I'm making dinner. I come in here at 6 to prepare for you. And if I'm not doing this with you, I have some call at 7. I'm saying that because I'm in here till 9 p.m. I've got to be a good steward. I make sure I spend time with my husband. That's that dinner time from 5 to 6, sometimes at 6:30, depending on what I have at 7. So I'm spending time with my husband, I'm spending time with me, I'm spending time with God, and I'm doing the work that he's called me to do. You've got 24 hours in a day. And I can go on and on about the way I spend the rest of my time. You've got to be a good steward with your time. So here's my challenge to you. I want you to look at tomorrow how you spend your 8 hours of your day, at least 8. And then when you get off of work, those of you that still working 9 to 5, what do you do with the rest of the 8 hours of your day? So when I finish here at 9 p.m., I take a bath every night, long, hot, wonderful bath. And then I have another hour or so with my husband before I fall asleep. So I'm really conscious of how I spend my time because I want, when I die and get to meet God face to face, I don't want him to say, girl, you wasted your time. So are you wasting yours? Are you doing things that are frivolous? Now, let me be clear. I need a pedicure once a month, sometimes twice a month. I need a massage. I need time with my girlfriends. My mom is here. I do stuff with my mom while she's here. But I'm mindful of what that block is and how I use that for my personal time. And it doesn't hinder me from the things I know I need to do as a CEO of my business or as the wife I am to my husband. And I go on and on and on. So you've got to be mindful of how you use your time. Are you a good steward of the time that God has given you? The last area, so we talked about treasure, we talked about time. The next is talent. You know, the number of people that I meet that overlook how God wired them. My foundational Bible verse to that is Jeremiah 29:11. That says, for I know the plans I have for you. So if God knows the plans he has for you, you've got to use your time to be able to get it. You've got to use the resources, the supply that God has given you. And oftentimes you need more supply to do more of it. You get that? I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. I know the plans I have for you. God knew the plans he had for you before you were born. That's why he gave you that DNA. And all he asks you to do is be a good steward of it. Again, stewardship is the conducting, supervising, or managing of something. You got to manage your time, your talent, and your treasure. Your time, your talent, and your treasure. They each are equally as important as the other, because I can know what my purpose is, but if I don't make time to grow it or own it or actually cultivate it and begin to actually produce it, then it'll never save or help or do anything in this kingdom. If I don't then grow my profit, again, profit means gain. So that means that I'm serving all the people that need me. I see some of my clients are here. So as my clients gain, I gain. Need you to get this? So when one of my clients goes to serve other people that need them, I'm equally gaining because it was me that imparted that knowledge to help them grow their business. So the more I grow me and grow my business, which takes money to do it, the more I'm gaining for the kingdom. So how are you being a good steward of your time, your talent, your treasure? To break it down even further for you, many of you that have been here with me for a while, you know that God put in my spirit years ago my mandate, which is Genesis 1:28. And really that mandate was a call of stewardship for Adam and Eve. Again, what does stewardship mean? It means the conducting, supervising, or managing of something entrusted to one's care. So what did God entrust to Adam and Eve's care? Genesis 1:28 says, then God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, have dominion. And then he started listing all the things that have dominion over. But then in Genesis 2, I think it's 8 or 9, I didn't write this one down, God says he created a garden and put Adam in the garden. Now I really want you to understand this, because this then again speaks to time, talent, treasure. Many of you that have been here, you know I call this the DFM formula, because what God calls us to do is have dominion. Dominion means complete authority. See, there's an arena that God has created you to have complete authority over. That arena is your expertise, the thing you're phenomenal at, that thing that is your purpose. It's no accident that you're good at certain things and have a natural propensity for some things. Oh, God did that on purpose for a purpose. And in that purpose is where you have your dominion. Again, then God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth, subdue it, have dominion. How do you subdue something if you're not standing in the full power of it? And as I was digging and learning more and more about dominion, years ago, probably about 10 years ago now, I was watching Beyonce on TV, and many of you guys know my last book that I wrote was called Find Your Fierce, because I was watching Beyonce. I would say I was hating on her a little bit, but I was having a full-on jealous moment. Because you need to understand, baby, if I could sing, Beyonce would have a run for her money because I could dance, okay? I'm just saying. So with that, I was having a full-on jealous moment, and God said, you know, you have fierce too. I'm like, okay, I know this is not God talking to me while I'm watching Beyonce. And yet, it was. What he began to show me in that moment is Beyonce created that alter ego, Sasha Fierce, at a time when God was calling her to advance and grow her gift. In order for her to go after that gift, to be a good steward of that gift, she had to create an alter ego, because this next level was scary. This next level was her solo career. She had been in a group. I'm sharing that with you because many of you are sitting in mediocre and in good enough. You won't do what it takes to grow your gift, which means you're not being a good steward of your dominion, your talent. The next call, he says, is to be fruitful. Fruitful means producing good results. How can you be fruitful if you're not managing your time? How do you produce good results when you're trying to grow a business alongside your 9-to-5? Because if you've been around me, you know that I always tell you, don't quit, because you need to spend money to make money. And so you need that 9-to-5 in order to be able to pay your lights, your mortgage, your car note, you know, to be able to eat while you're building your business. So if you're going to produce good results, how do you do that if you're not willing to grow your gift? Think about what fruitful is. Think about what fruit is. A fruit starts as a seed, like that DNA in you. In order for a seed to grow, it has to be watered. It doesn't just become fruit just on GP because I buy an apple seed. Ooh, I bought an apple seed and I'm going to have an apple. Yeah, no, doesn't work like that. You got to water that seed in order for it to grow. Then you have to cultivate, meaning that there might be weeds that are growing that you've got to get out of there. There might be animals coming in your crop that you got to put some stuff around to get the animals to stop eating your crop before it grows. I can go on and on. But if you're going to produce good results, you've got to do the work, and it takes time. I often tell, I've said this on a Facebook Live, and I always want to say this in case some of you have been with me, but I want you to see how everything I'm sharing with you culminates in previous lessons I've taught you. There's a concept called seed time and harvest. You hear God talk about this over and over and over in the Bible. But seed time is not one word. It's seed, time, and then harvest. I think many of us don't put in the time, or we don't make the time. We don't craft the time. We don't put the time in our calendar. We think, oh, this is too hard. I don't have time for that. Let me tell you, when I had a full-time job, I used to get up at 4 a.m. Did I like it? No. But I just got married. I had 2 bonus kids. I needed to feed them and do my business and go to work, and I had to make it work. I'm glad I did it now. I no longer have to wake up at 4 a.m., although I'd still wake up at 5, and not that I want to. God wakes me up every day about 4:35 a.m. now. But I'm used to it. I'm sharing that with you because it's up to you how you spend your time so that you can produce good results. How do you invest your time? And how do you even invest in your own gift? It speaks to multiply. How do you multiply your gift? So multiply means to increase greatly by number. So listen, if the only way you have in your business to serve the people that need you, you have to be present, then you're already capping off how much transformation you can provide. That means you're capping off how many people you can work with. That means you're capping off how much change you can make in this world. So you've got to understand the principles to multiply. This is what I call bankroll your bridge, and really around having a blueprint. But even bigger than that, I need you to understand that when you multiply, you're a part of a system that's producing good fruit. So the more people I work with, the more of my clients that are out doing what they're called to do. So when I work with 10 people, that's 10 people times 10. When I work with 20, that's 20 people times 20. Do I need to keep going? So you've got to be clear that multiplication is how you get your gift out in the world to serve all the people that you're called to serve. Listen, if Jesus needed 12 disciples, he could have done it by himself. But God knew, just like the rest of us, that we need to be willing to multiply. And by having more people on his team, Jesus was able to do more. So what makes me think I don't need people on my team? Yeah, I have 8 people on my team. And the more people I'm able to bring on my team, I got to pay them. Hello, that's profit. So the more money I make, the more people I can hire, which means the more we can serve our clients. And the better my level of service is when I have more people serving with me. So I really want you to spend some time and think about that. Think about how God has gifted you uniquely to be fruitful and multiply in the arena, the dominion that he's created you to serve in. How do you look at your time, your talent, your treasure so that you can do those 3 things? And where are some areas that you're not being fruitful or that you're not having dominion? Some of you are second guessing your treasure, or excuse me, your talent. Treasure is money. You get second guessing that too. Some of you don't realize that you have a lack mindset. Oh, this was me for years. Because the neighborhood I'm from in no way prepared me for the place that God has put me into now. And I'm not done yet. And so the biggest lesson I've had to learn is that your comfort and your conviction can never coexist. If I'm going to grow my time, my talent, my treasure, it's not going to be comfortable and it's not going to be easy. But it's always going to be worth it. It's like that stretch. And I'm a shopper. So the example I always like to give is, I buy a new pair of shoes, especially when they buy some expensive designer. They might feel okay in Nordstrom. They might feel okay in Bloomingdale's when I try them on. But baby, when I get that good stretch in them, it's a whole different experience, right? So it's the same thing with your gift. You got to get a good stretch. So it's not about who you already are. It's about who you have not yet become. How do you up-level your serve? How do you multiply and increase and do more so that you can produce more good results and have even greater dominion? That's all God asks of each of us. So as we end, I'm going to give you a little homework, but I want to end with this Bible verse. It's 1 Thessalonians 4:11 through 12, which says, do your best to live a quiet life, Learn to do your own work well. By the way, one version says, minding your own business, right? I love that. Learn to do your own work well. We told you about this before. By doing this, you will be respected by those who are not Christians. Then you will not be in need and others will not have to help you. Now, the thing I love about this, and this is Paul speaking to the church at Thessalonica, I think it was how you say it, is he's saying to these people that do your best to live a quiet life. Meaning it's none of anybody else's business but you and God to do the thing you're called to do. Learn to do it well. Again, none of nobody's business. Again, one verse says, minding your own business. I love that. We told you about this before. Like, this is the first time you heard this. By doing this, you will be respected by those who are not Christians. Now, here's the interesting part. As many people are being condemned for being Christians. And at the end of the day, I want you to really, really get this. If your light is shining, Matthew 5:16, let your light so shine among men and women that they may see your good work and glorify your Father in heaven. It's not you talking the talk that's going to let them see the God in you. It's you living the life and doing the work that lets your light shine. If I give you an example of this, years ago, I was working for a organization and I was an intern for the summer. I was working for the vice president, creating content, producing programming. And the president's assistant was an atheist. And she knew I was a Christian and she knew my business was my ministry. And she one day said to me, don't come here talking about God. Well, I hadn't done that yet. Not that I would, because that's not how I am a witness. I let my life be a witness. So I didn't tell her that. I just didn't say anything. So I remember one day she tells me, and we had formed a friendship over time because we worked together so much. I'm working with the vice president and she's working with the president. Our offices are next to each other, so we talked a lot. So I remember, she said, you know what? And mind you, I was in grad school. So everything I had was like grad school. Y'all know, some of you guys remember being in grad school. But anyway, so I had an old computer and it kept crashing. And she said, bring your computer to work. And it was a laptop. Bring your computer to work and I'll upgrade it for you. Okay. So she's going to upgrade it, upgraded Microsoft Office on it for me. So I bring my computer to work. I put my computer under my desk as we were going to lunch one day. We go to lunch, or we go to a meeting off site. We come back and it's the vice president's team and the president. It's like 4 of us all go out. We come back and somebody stole my computer. And so I said, oh, well, God bless me with that one. He'll bless me with another one. And I sit there and keep working. And she's stressing out. She's losing her mind. And I'm like, oh, well, God bless me with that one. He'll bless me with another one. As soon as I finish saying that sentence, the vice president walks out with a new computer in its box, never opened. And she said, here, Nicole, you can have this laptop. So the woman says, okay, wait a minute. I need to know about this God. I need you to sit down and talk to me about this God. And I'm sharing that with you because literally my life was an example, not my talking, but my living. Is your living in vain? Are you being a good steward of your talent, your time, your treasure? That's all God asks. And that's how we give God a great return on his investment in each of us. To break this down even further, here's your homework. I want you to read, those of you that haven't, and those of you that are with me, I talk about this parable all the time because this is a great example of multiplies, the parable of the talents, which is in Matthew 25:14-30. Now, I often only talk about the money that got increased, but what's so interesting is that it's called the parable of the talents. So as you read this, I want you to look past the money example it's talking about. I want you to think about the time and the talent piece as well, and how this speaks to your soul. All of us are different. All of us have different journeys. Again, the Bible verse says, do your best to live a quiet life, meaning it's your business, not everybody else. You don't need to be telling everybody your business. But your life will be an example because your light will shine like it did for that woman in that office on that one day. And I had the opportunity to tell her about my God because she offered it. Even if you think of Jesus as our ultimate example, you never saw Jesus walking around going, I'm the Son of God, right? He didn't walk around and trying to tell people about God. He would hang out with people. And then they would say, there's something different about you. And then he would say, oh, it's my Father in heaven. So he would wait until the space was made again. He would let his light shine. And he did that through his time, his talent, and his treasure. There are over, out of 38 parables in the Bible, do you know 16 of the parables that Jesus told, the stories Jesus told, were about money? So obviously money is important. Us understanding how to be good stewards of it are important. But even as we're being good stewards of our money, it's how we use our time around that money and our treasure that will make the difference. So that's our conversation for tonight. That's our conversation, and I look forward to pouring more into you. Number one, I want to hear the value you got out of this first conversation. As you do your homework, come on back and write value. The second thing I want to invite you into, every Tuesday morning, we dig deeper into this conversation. So I want to invite you to join me tomorrow on Clubhouse. That's on fpppbreakfast.com. That's at 8:30 a.m. EST. I say this every week, but the thing I love about Clubhouse is I can hear your voice and you can ask me questions, but I share for about 15 minutes, and then we open up and I want to hear from you. All right? So with that said, it's always my honor and my privilege to coach you and teach you and pour into you, because ultimately what we do for God is what matters. It doesn't matter what kind of car you have, what kind of house you have. It doesn't matter where you live and who you know. At the end of our life, it's going to be all about how are we giving, or how did we give God a great return on his investment. It's ultimately about, was our living in vain? And so I look forward to continuing this conversation, pouring more into you tomorrow morning, hearing your comments as you read the parable of the talents, thinking about your time, your talent, and your treasure. And again, if you got value, I want to hear about it. I want you to post here. I want you to share the thing that you got, the most valuable thing you got out of our conversation for this part one. All right. So with that said, I'll see you in the morning on Clubhouse. Again, it's FPP Breakfast. Let me put that up one more time. FPPbreakfast.com is where you come to join us on Clubhouse. All right. So until then, have a phenomenal night. And I'll see you tomorrow morning as well as next Monday for another FPP Live. Bye, y'all.